Early the next morning at daybreak, the Jewish Supreme Court assembled, including the chief priests and all the top religious authorities of the nation. Jesus was led before this council and instructed to state whether or not he claimed to be the Messiah. He replied, "If I tell you, you won't believe me, or let me present my case. But the time is soon coming when I, the man of glory, shall be enthroned beside Almighty God." They all shouted, "Then you claim you are the Son of God?" And he replied, "Yes, I am." "What need do we have for other witnesses?" they shouted, "for we ourselves have heard him say it." Jesus' trial before Caiaphas ended in the early hours of the morning. Next, he was taken to the palace of the Roman governor. His accusers wouldn't go in themselves, for that would defile them, they said, and they wouldn't be allowed to eat the Passover lamb. So Pilate, the governor, went out to them and asked, "What is your charge against this man? What are you accusing him of doing?" "We wouldn't have arrested him if he weren't a criminal," they retorted. "Then take him away and judge him yourselves by your own laws," Pilate told them. "But we want him crucified," they said, "and your approval is required." This fulfilled Jesus' prediction concerning the method of his execution. Then Pilate went back into the palace and called for Jesus to be brought to him. "Are you the king of the Jews?" he asked him. "King as you use the word or as the Jews use it?" Jesus asked. "Am I a Jew?" Pilate retorted. "Your own people and their chief priests brought you here. Why? What have you done?" Then Jesus answered, "I am not an earthly king. If I were, my followers would have fought when I was arrested by the Jewish leaders. But my kingdom is not of the world." Pilate replied, "But you are a king then?" "Yes," Jesus said. "I was born for that purpose, and I came to bring truth to the world. All who love the truth are my followers." "What is truth?" Pilate exclaimed. Then he went out again to the people and told them, "He is not guilty of any crime, but you have a custom of asking me to release someone from prison each year at Passover. So if you want me to, I'll release the King of the Jews." But they screamed back, "No, not this man, but Barabbas." Barabbas was a robber. Then Pilate laid open Jesus' back with a leaded whip, and the soldiers made a crown of thorns and placed it on his head and robed him in royal purple. "Hail, King of the Jews!" they mocked and struck him with their fists. Pilate went outside again and said to the Jews, "I am going to bring him out to you now, but understand clearly that I find him not guilty." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said, "Behold the man." At sight of him, the chief priests and Jewish officials began yelling, "Crucify! Crucify!" "You crucify him," Pilate said. "I find him not guilty." They replied, "By our laws, he ought to die because he called himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was more frightened than ever. He took Jesus back into the palace again and asked him, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave no answer. "You won't talk to me," Pilate demanded. "Don't you realize that I have the power to release you or to crucify you?" Then Jesus said, "You would have no power at all over me unless it were given to you from above. So those who brought me to you have the greater sin." Then Pilate tried to release him. But the Jewish leaders told him, "If you release this man, you are no friend of Caesar's. Anyone who declares himself a king is a rebel against Caesar." At these words, Pilate brought Jesus out to them again and sat down on the judgment bench on the stone-paved platform. It was now about noon of the day before Passover. And Pilate said to the Jews, "Here is your king." "Away with him," they yelled. "Away with him! Crucify him!" "What? Crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the chief priests shouted back. Then Pilate gave Jesus to them to be crucified. So they had him at last, and he was taken out of the city, carrying his cross to the place known as the Skull, in Hebrew, Golgotha. There they crucified him and 2 others with him, one on either side, with Jesus between them. And Pilate posted a sign over him reading, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. One of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, So you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself and us too while you're at it. But the other criminal protested, Don't you even fear God when you are dying? We deserve to die for our evil deeds, but this man hasn't done one thing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus replied, Today you will be with me in paradise. This is a solemn promise. By now it was noon, and darkness fell across the whole land for 3 hours until 3 o'clock. The light from the sun was gone, and suddenly the thick veil hanging in the temple split apart. Then Jesus shouted, Father, I commit my spirit to you. And with those words, he died.